sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to you, everybody. How you doing? It's Monday, the 16th day of December, year of our Lord, 2024, and I realize I'll get yelled at. I have my product placement mug, River's Promise, brought to you by 1 Hour Heating and Air, and I'm drinking out of the wrong side. If I drink out of the wrong side, someone scolds me and tells me to put the lid on the other way. So somehow I always naturally get the lid on the wrong way. There you go. Coffee is ready. Good to have you here. It is a Monday morning. Can you believe next week is going to be Christmas? 9 days away from the Christmas holiday, and here we are together singing Kumbaya. Everybody's happy, right? Oh, by the way, behind me, it looks a little different, right? We're building right behind me. That is a tarp. We're building the new set, the new background, and it's coming up here in the house of Lakey, and I'm glad to have you here with me. And very soon that will change again behind me. We're diving this thing in. This is our, I guess, starting the third week behind the with the Lakey Unleashed podcast. And if you're not familiar, many of you tune in differently and new every week. If you're not familiar, my name is Jimmy. It's right there on the screen, Jimmy Lakey, right there it is. And this is the Lakey Unleashed podcast. This is our live daily update. This is a free event that happens every morning, starting at about 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. It happens free, and then we also have some stuff that's not free. You got to pay for that. And if you're not familiar with me, I've got 20 years of something or more in Denver talk radio, and got in Denver, Colorado, I should say, talk radio. Got kicked to the can by the big corporation that's not that committed to local talk radio. A lot of syndication going on, and so I decided, why not give this a shot? Let's see if we can do our own thing. If Joe Rogan can make it, Jimmy Lakey can make it. I'm different, but you get the idea. So anyway, welcome to the world of podcasting. This is the daily update. Glad to have you here. And we'll go through the news of the day. And also, if you're familiar with the old radio broadcast that I did up until several weeks ago, about a month ago, you remember we had the whole band. Every day we had some set guests and wonderful topics of conversation with our set guests, so you could always make a listening appointment, is what we called that. And you could always find out how to be a part of that show on the times you wanted to be, because you had Laura Carno Tuesday, you had Megan Monday, you had Jay Ratliff, you had Brian Maloney, you had just a whole, Steve Laffey was a regular. All these regulars. Well, I posted last night, the band is getting back together. A lot of those conversationalists have followed me here to the podcast studio at the House of Lakey, the Lakey Unleashed podcast. And guess what they're doing? They've agreed to come back on regularly. Today, guess who's going to join us? First time I've talked to her in about a month since I got poop canned from the radio station. It's Megan Barth. She's going to be up here in about 1 hour, so don't go anywhere. If you have to step away to go toiletize yourself or something, get back here to the studio and watch Megan Barth. She will be here, and Megan Barth is, of course, the founder of a website called ReaganBabe.com. And also, Megan Barth she's the editor-in-chief of the NevadaGlobe.com. So they have a lot of breaking news there, the Nevada Globe. So we'll talk with Megan Barth this morning. Many of you have been asking for her this morning, just about 9 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone. And we'll talk to Megan Barth. And if you miss it, by the way, you can't watch that whole time. In all the feeds that we're on, don't forget that this broadcast, this podcast, if you will, stays there in the feed. So you can go back and watch it in all of its glory. You can. That was beautiful. Glory. You're going to have a revival here going on here soon. You can watch it in all of its glory a little bit later in the day or tonight or whenever you want to watch it. So anyway, good to have you here. If you do comment on any of the feeds, we're on the Facebook.com/Red Wave America, Facebook.com/The Media Equalizer, Facebook.com/ Jimmy Lakey fan page. You got that one. Yeah, Facebook.com. We're on the X feed. We're on the Rumble under my name, Jimmy Lakey, and also Good Morning Rumble, by the way. Good Morning YouTube. The YouTube channel is rocking and rolling today. If you do comment on a lot of those forms on a Rumble on the right side, it says live chat. If you do comment on the live chat, that shows up right here in the studio. And I'm looking to see who's going to get the first comment posted this morning. We post a lot of those comments up on the screen here. Who's going to get the first comment of today? We will see how it works. But again, this is a studio under construction. I have a hammer here to illustrate the construction that's going on behind me. And this will be the new broadcast facility inside the House of Lakey, which is safely contained inside the Lakey Entertainment Tower. So just so you know, we're very secure here. There's a moat out front, and it keeps us away from bad guys. All right, Betsy comes up first. Betsy's first, and Betsy's now my favorite human on the planet. She says she loves seeing my handsome face. Oh, Betsy, where have you been all my life? Love you. She loves seeing my handsome face. Doesn't everybody? I mean, is there anybody out there that doesn't like seeing my handsome face? Delilah, shut the hell up. I'm not going to listen to you. Delilah says she might not love seeing my face, but, by the way, Delilah is not just her dancing name. She's worked with me for the Lakey Entertainment Towers for many years. Delilah, not just a dancing name, but never asked to borrow $1 from Delilah because Delilah always has glitter on her dollars. You never know where Delilah's dollars have been. It's just scary. You never know where they've been. So, but, I can relate to the, what is it called? A gig economy. Speaking of my handsome face, I used to be, of course, a Chippendale dancer. And so I had a lot of glitter on my dollar bills, if you know what I mean. That sounded so dirty. I had a lot of glitter on my dollar. If you add that phrase, if you know what I mean, after anything that you say, I like cheese on my broccoli, if you know what I mean, you can just have a blast. All you got to do, sorry, that's very sophomoric. I apologize, but if you just add that on any phrase, like I like to hold my hammer, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, it will turn you into a frat boy right there, or junior high kid. I'm not sure. No, the hammer is symbolic of the construction going on behind me, and that soon this black swath of material and tarp will be gone, and it will be in the new studio. But Betsy, thank you very much. I love me seeing my handsome face as well, if you know what I mean. By the way, before we get to the headlines of the memes that we stole for today, if you would like to, you could have my handsome face in your house. It is the official Jimmy Lakey bobblehead. And people have been asking me where to get those. Are we going to sell them? We are going to have some House of Lakey swag. We will have that soon. But the bobblehead is available for a donation. It's a donation to my charity. All you got to do is go to riverspromise.org and you donate. I think there's a tab that says products there. And you donate, and you can choose the bobblehead as your gift for the donation. I think it's $50. And right there where it's kind of blank, I autograph that for you if you care me to do so. I'd be happy to do that. But yes, you can have my handsome face when I'm not on the screen like that. Maybe I'm not on the screen here. And it goes dark. I know you missed me, but here I am. You could have your bobblehead right there in your house. And what a great Christmas gift for yourself. Does anybody buy yourself a Christmas gift? I don't know if anybody does, but if you do, that would be good for yourself. And gentlemen, your wives, your ladies would love to have a bobblehead of Jimmy Lakey. Just saying. Ladies, your men would love to have a bobblehead of Jimmy Lakey, your children as well. And again, those are available at riverspromise.org under the product section, a Lakey bobblehead. I should take that out of the box. We could bobble it around, if you know what I mean. I gotta stop doing that. We're mature adults here on this podcast. I've got to stop doing that, if you know what I mean. All right, let's get to some news of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Nancy Pelosi had an accident. She not a Joe Biden accident where she pooped her pants, but she had an accident in which she fell down some stairs in Luxembourg in Belgium and ended up breaking her hip. Now, there's no photos that I've seen from the hospital, but they actually downplayed it at first, and they said she had to have surgery. And so she's in a Belgian hospital right now, had hip replacement. And again, very, very serious here. We don't wish anyone ill. We wish everyone the best. We may disagree politically, but I'm not going to wish anyone ill. A matter of fact, I have an opportunity, I think producer Chad has it, that as we add advertisers into this wonderful Lakey Unleashed podcast, Nancy Pelosi could join us. And if Life Alert is still around, I'm thinking Nancy could be the spokesperson for this. Anybody remember this? Let's play that, producer Chad, if we have it.
And I can't get up.
I'm sorry. I can't.
And I can't get up.
Oh, play it again. Let's just watch it.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at Nancy, but she did break her hip, and we do wish her the best. And I'm thinking there may be a new commercial for her to do. You know, we need term limits. Kathy's right. She just posted that up in the chat. We need term limits. I posted a couple of these memes, and let me ask you this. Why do you think our founding fathers, they put a term limit on the presidency, but they did not in the Constitution put a term limit on, of course, justices or judges or a lifetime appointment? And the members of Congress don't have, they have a 2-year term unlimited. And you also have the members of the Senate get a 6-year term unlimited. Let me ask you, why do you think the members of Congress did not put a term limit on anything? Anybody got an answer for that? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But this is a meme that I found. I think it's true. That's Mitch McConnell last week. He had a fall as well. Mitch McConnell had the fall. And I have to say that this U.S. Senate was never meant to be a nursing home, was it? Was that the intent of it? And Mitch McConnell gets in front of a camera, freezes up, and matter of fact, maybe Mitch McConnell could get a gig as well, doing the "Help I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up" thing. Let me show you this image as well. This is a good meme. Oh, I can't resist. Some of you just joining us. Play it again, producer Chad. It's the "Help I Fall." Maybe Mitch McConnell could also get a job once he retires. You know, Ron Paul does food dehydration machines now. Once he retired from the U.S. Senate, I'm thinking, or the U.S. House, I'm thinking that if Ron Paul can do food dehydration, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, who have both having a fall in the last couple of days, could probably do this one here. Play it again, producer.
Fallen and I can't get up. I've fallen and I can't get up.
It's Nancy. We wish her the best. We wish her the very, very best. But why do you think? That's the question of the day. Why don't you comment on the and all the platforms and areas you're listening to the program this morning? Why don't you comment on that? Why do you think the Constitution did not provide for term limits when it comes to the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate? Term limits for the presidency. Of course, early on, there was not even a term limit for the presidency. You could run as long as you wanted to, and that's after. They only added the term limit for the presidency of 2 terms after Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran for 3, and they said, okay, enough of Franklin. We can't have him anymore. We're done with that. So they didn't add term limits to anybody. Everybody was just lifetime if you could get reelection. Judges, the presidents. There's some thought that I've had that maybe it's because they didn't think anyone would want the job for more than a term or 2. I've heard the phrase growing up and taking history classes that we were supposed to have citizen legislators, so they imagined in their predominantly agriculture-based economy, they just imagined that it was going to be people that would go leave the farm for a term or 2, go serve in D.C. and get back to the family. But it has become what we would call a nursing home. And you got guys like Mitch McConnell. Anybody remember those horrible photos of, was it Dianne Feinstein getting wheeled in like weeks before her death, getting wheeled into, and she looked almost as bad as Jimmy Carter out there. The mouth was gaping, and she just looked like a zombie out there. But she wouldn't resign her seat, and she ended up dying while she was a sitting U.S. senator. And you got Mitch McConnell getting wheeled in by his staff. And now you got Nancy Pelosi holed up in the hospital in Belgium with a broken hip. And I have to say, look at this photo that the producer Chad just put up. There's Joe Biden as a young man. And you have Joe Biden as an old guy. There's Dianne Feinstein that I just talked about and getting wheeled into the U.S. Senate. And there's old San Fran Nancy Pelosi, who has fallen, and she couldn't get up in Belgium, and there she is. This is why we need term limits. Why do you think the founding fathers did not give us term limits? Anybody got a guess? As I said, most of them had businesses to run. They had things that they were going to do. And Dave gets it. They had businesses to run. So how did we fall from such stupidity and end up with these old timers that have fallen and can't get up? They have to get wheeled in by their staff. And here's another question. Why do people still elect these people for 2, 3, 4 terms, whether it's San Fran Nan in the House or Mitch McConnell in the Senate? Why is it that we continue to, we kvetch and moan about how they serve so long, but we keep putting them back in office? So we could say that the system is faulty and we need term limits, but why is it that we, the voters, don't term limit these people? In Colorado, we've got like Michael Bennet, as he's on his second or third term, and he's accomplished pretty nothing. He's a nobody in the U.S. Senate. Even when his staff post on social media, he says some of the dumbest things. Dumbassery is what he puts out there. Anybody name some great champion of any topic or conversation that Michael Bennet is in the U.S. Senate? Bennet in the U.S. Senate is do nothing Bennet in the U.S. Senate, and yet the people of Colorado keep sending him back. The people keep sending Nancy Pelosi back, and yet the fine people of Kentucky have sent Mitch McConnell back for a long time. It's a great question. It's not just some navel gazing at our own Constitution. Why did our founders not put it in the Constitution? But it's also some navel gazing as to why do our fellow citizens continue to, and it's not just Democrats. We're picking on San Fran Nan. You got Mitch McConnell, a friend of mine, Doug Lamborn. I mean, he had like a bazillion years in the House, and he kept getting reelected. But and he never stepped down. Now, he was not frail of mind or frail of body, but it's just interesting. These guys don't term limit themselves. You know who did term limit himself and took a lot of flack for it? Is right here in northern Colorado. You had Bob Schaefer, who is now the Lord, if you will, of Liberty. He's the big guy at the Liberty Common Schools, and he said he was going to run for a couple of terms, and he did run for a couple of terms, and boom, he was out of there. So you do have some guys that are patriots and care about their constituents and say, no, I'm not going to make a career of this. And Bob Schaefer could still be in that seat if he wanted to be, but he had promised to term limit himself, and he did that. And a lot of folks disappointed by that. But again, that's what I think our founders intended. Another guy that term limited himself was our old friend Tom Tancredo. Tancredo originally said, I think he'd do 2 terms, 4 years. And I think Tom did 3 terms, but he still left. He was out. He said, I'm not running again. And Tancredo could have held that seat probably for a long, long time. So you do have some people, we have to give credit where credit is due, that have term limited themselves. But why is it that our founders did not term limit themselves or the legislature in the originating documents? And perhaps they just figured no one would be stupid enough to want to make a career out of politics. But we obviously have some people that make career out of politics. Dave has it right out there. He says most members, he's chatting. By the way, don't forget to chat if you're on the Facebook feed, if you're on the Twitter feed, if you're on the Rumble feed. On the right side, it says live chat. You can chat. It comes right here to the studio, and I'd love to hear from you. But that's the question of the day. Here's the other question. How many terms should everybody get? If you were writing and you were king for a day, how many terms should the U.S. Senate get? I think 2 terms of the Senate is probably good. And I think if that's 12 years, 2 terms of the Senate. So give the members of the House the same, maybe? I'm just throwing that out there for fodder and conversation. So 6 terms in the House, that's 12 years, or cut them. I don't know. Maybe 1 term each. How many terms should the Senate get? How many terms should, in a U.S. election, how many terms would a U.S. Senator get? Is it 1 term? Is it 2 terms? And what about the House of Representatives? If you were writing the Constitution knowing today that these people have made a career of this whole thing, and they're stayed in there way too long, many of them have never held a job or done anything or accomplished anything in the private sector, how should we make sure that this does not become commonplace? And how do we turn the Senate and the House into something besides a nursing home? It really segues into this fact of what's been beautiful about this Trump administration and this is this transition team is that it's really been beautiful to watch the new energy. You got Vivek Ramaswamy, you got Elon Musk, you've got Pete Hegseth, people that have not been Pam Bondi hanging out. You've got Kash Patel. These are people that have not spent an entire life and decades in the swamp of Washington, D.C. Some of them have some service in D.C., and some of them have done some things, but a lot of them have not spent a whole bunch of time there. And I think that's why the energy is there. And I also think that's why the Trump approval ratings right now are the highest they have probably ever been. They're the highest they've ever been in all of his political years, which is now going on 12 years or so, that he has been in the political fray, coming down that escalator. But the approval ratings are high, and I think one of the reasons they're high is because some of the people he's naming to prominent positions are not people that you would consider swamp rats or swamp monsters. They have not been part of that political conversation for a real long time. So anyway, your thoughts here, comment wherever you're at. Kathy says, follow the money and get rid of the voting machines. Well, that I would agree with both of those. You can follow the money. Nancy Pelosi and her insider trading, I think that's been pretty well documented that a lot of these guys ladies make a lot of money. They go into the U.S. House or the U.S. Senate as just average Joe Schmoes. Maybe they came up through the state legislature, maybe they're a dog catcher, and somehow they get elected to the hallowed halls of Congress. And when they leave, they're multimillionaires. And I have to say, somebody could win a Pulitzer or some kind of a award in reporting if they would just kind of follow the money and ask how people that make less than $200,000 a year, what do they make? $140,000? I don't even know what they make anymore. They make it, but somehow they end up multimillionaires. And multimillionaires. It's really kind of bizarre. All right, other news stories. So Craig jumps in here. Craig wants to talk. Craig is on the YouTube channel. If you're on YouTube, shout us out. Mr. Jimmy, thank you for the recommendations for a cigar lounge. I ended up going to the Garden Room, then to JJ Fox from my hotel in Dublin, where I'm listening to you now today. Cheers. Craig is gallivanting. He's watches the podcast, and he's been watching it. He's in Italy, then he was in Czechoslovakia. I don't know if that's a country. Is that still a country? They changed some of those. Like Yugoslavia is not a country. He's been gallivanting around. He asked for recommendations for cigar lounges, and the Garden Room is what I think, that's the Lanesboro Hotel. Go back and watch the Friday broadcast of this. I just on top of mind, he asked for recommendations for cigar lounges in London. And I gave him expert advice. It was almost as if I was ready to hop a plane and just go there, because JJ Fox is just a historic landmark of a smoking establishment. They've been selling tobacco products there since the 1600s or so. And it's where Winston Churchill kept his, I just got an error message popping up here for something. I don't know where it went. Anyway, Winston Churchill kept his cigars during WW2. Somebody just said we're having trouble on X. If anybody's out there having trouble on X, let us know. If anybody watching on X this morning, I just got a message that popped up that said there's trouble on the X machine. Yeah, we're having trouble to stream to X. This may be an issue with X. We're going to keep trying and let you know if it's resolved. Please check X to ensure that the stream looks okay. Anybody on X right now, we need to hear from you. This is a message that just came across from our platform that says there's trouble on the X machine this morning. If anybody's watching X, give us a comment, retweet us, post, comment. We'd love to hear from you, or just send us a message any way you can. Send a pigeon over. We'd love to get your comment there. But that's a tragedy. X is a huge platform for us. Yeah, the numbers I'm looking are down on X this morning. All right. Anyway, Craig, glad you enjoyed the JJ Fox and the Garden Room at the Lanesboro Hotel, and love to hear more of the details of it. Write me a formal review, and I will love to hear what your best part of it and the worst part of it was, and how much did you spend at those places, because the Lanesboro can get a little handy. X says we're not live this morning. All right, we are live. But this is what the platform we're on this platform we call StreamYard. And it says we're having trouble streaming to X or Twitter this morning. This could be an issue on X's. Yeah, there's an X problem out there this morning. It shows, yeah. Producer Chad says, looks like we're having issues on X. It's not our issues, my friends. This is the platform that we stream from that has sent us a notification that they're having trouble with X as well. So if you're an X follower, hopefully you'll find us somewhere else. That would be very, very good. All right, here's a news story I want to get to as well. And then I want to play some audio for you and video now that we're on this format. Students for Fair Admission is an organization called SSFA, and they have filed a lawsuit against the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, due to its racial and ethnic admissions policies. On Tuesday last week, The lawsuit was filed in Colorado. It claims that the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs is violating the Fifth Amendment as it is allegedly using race as a factor in its admissions policies. The lawsuit states that the service academies are subject to the Fifth Amendment, which contains an equal protection principle. They're saying basically affirmative action does not pertain to these service facilities, and you can't do that. According to the president of Students for Fair Admission, the president says over the past few decades, the Air Force Academy and other military academies have strayed from their former colorblind, merit-based admissions policies and now focus on race and ethnicity, factors that do not contribute to the qualification of the applicants. In addition, the 2023 Supreme Court opinions forbade all institutions of higher learning from using race in admissions decisions. So the U.S. Air Force Academy is under a lawsuit because the Students for Fair Admission says, hey, you're still using race. Not only should you not be using race, a 2023 Supreme Court decision forbade you from using race. And according to the lawsuit, the U.S. Air Force Academy uses a holistic admissions process similar to those used by Harvard and the University of North Carolina, UNC, meaning that they consider the applicant's whole application, such as their background, their qualities or skills, their essays, and even the potential for success of the school. But the lawsuit also says the academy admits that it considers race when choosing to admit, and it uses racial preferences to shape the racial diversity of each incoming class. Any Air Force alum out there? Anybody go to the Air Force Academy? Anybody shocked to hear that the Air Force Academy is being accused of racial quotas, basically? They got to have enough quotas in every area. So that's, I think we're back up on the X. The error message has disappeared. It looks like they have fixed the X. So yeah, the numbers are climbing on X. If you're on X, let us know. Somebody check it out. The error message that the platform gave us about X seems to have disappeared, and we seem to be live on the X. All right, good to have you here. My name is Jimmy, and let me dive into the news of the day. If you're an Air Force veteran, an Air Force Academy alum, love to hear from you. Air Force Academy is being sued because evidently they may have a very, very high qualified potential cadet, and yet they choose the person that may be lesser qualified based on a color scheme or a color quota or a race quota, and they're getting sued for that. They're being told you can't do that. Mike, howdy. Everybody see Mike is on X. Thank you. I think our X problem has been fixed. Mike, thank you. Yes, Laura Carno coming back tomorrow morning. Laura Carno Tuesday. Carno says it's live. So they fixed the X problem. It was not our fault. It was somebody else's problem. All right. I want to play some audio for you, if I may. Did anybody watch Stephen A. Smith? He's fantastic. I disagree with him politically, but he went off over the weekend on his own Stephen A. Smith show. I don't know if he's a live television. I know he's on the YouTube channel. And I think producer Chad has the audio for us for Stephen A. Smith. But Stephen A. Smith is really going to explain it because Democrats seem to be in a state of denial regarding why they did not do well in this last election, why Kamala lost the election. They seem to be in a huge state of denial. And Stephen A. Smith looks at it and he sums it up, basing it on the report that comes out of the House that the January the 6th insurrection was really a bunch of lies made up by idiots like Broken Hip Pelosi and Liz Cheney. They told you lies about this so-called insurrection, and Stephen A. Smith goes off in this interview and this monologue, and he's not happy with how the Democrats have been lying to him and how as much as he wanted to dislike Trump and they told us that Trump was evil, Republicans are bad, it seems like they're the bad ones. Do we have that audio or that video of Stephen A. Smith, producer
before
Chad?
We get on out of here as we've now entered the final month of Joe Biden's presidency. And for the sake of argument, it hasn't been a good one. The Democrats lost the White House, Senate, and House in the November election. Meanwhile, this week, FBI Director Christopher Wray announced plans to resign at the end of the Biden administration as President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January. The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appeared to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. So 23 folks for the FBI were in the crowd. And we're just finding that out. Didn't hear anything.
Let me stop there. I'll continue to play, but I'm going to hit play again. I'm over here in the corner if you can't see me, but you'll be fine. I want to let you the tone of his voice. Stephen A. Smith is out there, and he's not real happy right now. He's not very happy because he realizes he's come to that moment where he realizes that these Democrats are a bunch of liars. He's realized that all this thing of Donald Trump was a threat to democracy, that Donald Trump is going to cause an insurrection. He realizes that he was getting lied to by these people that wanted to run the free world, and they wanted to run the free world based on their own sack of lies or Sacagawea, if you know what I'm saying. I just listen to the tone of his voice. And Stephen A. Smith, I don't think he ever sounds happy, but I think he sounds particularly pissed off right now that he's starting to realize, and you're going to hear him unpack this a little bit more, that Democrats have absolutely lied to him, and he's really bothered by it. So let's continue the audio. Stephen A. Smith, his monologue about how he's very disappointed that Democrats have become such liars.
About that for the election. Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached.
Quote unquote.
By Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee, by President Biden before her, by Democrats in both the House and the Senate as they articulated the belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case. And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged, the Democrats are this or that, they're talking about us, but look at what they do. We don't know all the details. It's a report. Justice Department comes out with this. That's not my big issue. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. Where's the $1.5 billion that was given to the Democratic Party? Where is it?
Where's the $1.5 billion given the Democrat Party? Everybody gave Kamala all this money, and he's pissed off going, where's it at? You lied to us the whole time. You told us lies, and now where's all that money that you were using to perpetrate lies? You weren't telling us truth about a vision for America. You weren't telling us truth about how you're going to make America great again or how you're going to, you were making up lies about Donald Trump, making up lies about J.D. Vance, and Stephen A. Smith's very ticked off and says, where's the freaking money? All this money that you guys took from us, all this money that you took as donations, Kamala, you used it for lies, you used it to deceit, you used it for fraud. Where's it at, Kamala? And I think there ought to be a lot of Democrat donors out there that come back and say, wait, you were spreading lies the whole time. I gave you money because you said that they were insurrectionists. Now we find out that they were basically... there was a lot of FBI informants and a lot of rebel rousers there. None of them got held accountable for their actions. Christopher Wray lied under oath when he said that the FBI was not involved in the insurrection of January the 6th, and yet they were probably some of the leading advocates of it, and they're the ones that breached the secure area. And Stephen A. Smith says, you lied to us. People gave you a billion plus dollars, and you raised all that money, Kamala, you lying Sacagawea. You raised all that money based on deceit. You had people, little old women and Hollywood celebrities writing checks out to the DNC going, we got to save democracy because Donald Trump's gone crazy and he's going to bring in a bunch of insurrectionists. And then we find out last week that you were raising money at fraudulent principles. They were lying to you. Any of you dopes out there that gave any money to Kamala Harris, you need to know that you got lied to by Kamala. You got lied to by this woman who has no identity outside of outside that she got her job based on affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion. She's not qualified for anything. She hasn't accomplished anything. Well, Willie Brown says she did accomplish a couple of things, but she hasn't accomplished anything professionally, but she got her job because of the color of her skin and the gender that she identifies with as a woman. She's not a qualified person, but a lot of you dupes gave her money. And why'd you give her money? You gave her money because she was going to save you from a threat to democracy. And yet you realize it was Christopher Wray and the Biden administration and Nancy Pelosi, all these people, they were threatening democracy because they were running a ruse, and some of you were stupid enough to give them money. Have you demanded a refund? All right, let's continue with Stephen A. Smith. He's very ticked off, and he's screaming, where's the money? Show me the money.
Where'd the money go? Why was Oprah given $2.5 million? Why was Al Sharpton's National Action Network given that much money? Before interviews, by the way. Why? I think it was $500K for the National Action Network. Why? I want to be clear. I don't have any problem with the National Action Network taking that money because they don't have a lot of money. I have more of a problem with Oprah taking $2.5 million when she's worth over $1 billion. But speaking to us as if her heart and soul was so immersed in supporting Kamala Harris. Well, then why didn't you do it for free? I'm just asking. I'm just asking these things because I think it's important. And I think that the time has arrived where we have to stop letting stuff go all the time, particularly when it comes to the left. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens or, the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? I'm getting to the Democratic Party. You know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right.
He's pissed off that we're right. How many of other Democrats out there, you trolls out there watching in the interweb and intergoogles, how many of the rest of you are ticked off that we keep being right? I mean, think of all the things we were called liars and insurrectionists. We were going to kill grandma when the COVID. Every time you turn around and look at the last, let's say 10 years, maybe even 12 years, everything that we were called names for and said we were conspiracy theorists or from COVID to Donald Trump to Russian collusion, we keep being right. And yet some of you still keep voting for some of you. Some of you keep voting for these idiots. Some of you keep voting for Jared Polis. Some of you keep voting for Michael Bennett, John Hickenlooper, Nancy Pelosi. Some of you keep voting for these jackwagons. Listen, they're a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of narcissistic liars that are basically living off the taxpayers out there, and some of you continue to vote for them. Anyway, Stephen A. Smith is ticked off. Will continue his rant. He's ticked off that we keep being right, and he keeps trying to believe the Democrats, but it ain't worth believing them anymore. They're liars.
I would love to argue with Sean Hannity. How can I? Do you know what Sean Hannity used to do to me when I told him Kamala Harris had a chance? He'd laugh. Like literally, genuinely giggle. He'd go on TV and put on his straight face to y'all. You got to be concerned. This election could go either way. He laughed. He wasn't concerned about her. Before I called out Biden, he was calling Biden Sleepy Joe. What's percolating on social media today? Just go and look at it, y'all. Joe Biden is caught napping at an African summit in Angola for at least a full minute. They didn't say whether he was snoring or not. That's about all that was missing. But he was clearly asleep. I'm not going to pardon my son. I want to state for the record, I have no problem with him pardoning Hunter Biden. I had a problem with him trying to act like it was unjust what was being done in pursuit of getting after my son because they wanted to get to me.
I have no problem as well for old Joe Biden to pardon his son. As a matter of fact, I expected it. But it's a self-righteous cloud of arrogance said we're better than them and we were going to follow the law. And Donald Trump thinks he's above the law. Well, Donald Trump didn't pardon himself. Donald Trump didn't do any preemptive pardons when he left office. Donald Trump wasn't even rumored to do preemptive pardons for his own children. Even though they were going after his kids. So it's this cloak of self-righteousness that these guys put themselves up in. And they put themselves up in this cloak of self-righteousness. And Stephen A. Smith says, wow, I really thought, even Barack Obama, your Lord and Savior for some of you. He was the Messiah for the Democrat Party. Barry Hussein Obama, anybody realize he's a freaking liar? Is anybody out there still think that Barry Obama is telling you the truth about anything? He's a narcissistic liar, and he has proven that, first of all, he's proven that so many things. He's proven that he didn't like Joe Biden to begin with, but when push comes to shove, he comes out and says Joe's a great guy, and Kamala's a wonderful girl, but he didn't want Kamala to be the nominee. He wanted Michelle, his wife, Michael, to be the nominee. So it's really it's fascinating to watch what's happening out there. Stephen A. Smith. Let me play a little bit more of this here. There's a little bit more to go. Stephen A. Smith is very, very unhappy, and he's ticked off about the lies that Democrats have told everybody. Play it again.
All you had to say was, I'm pardoning my son because he's my son. You couldn't just say that, though. You know why you couldn't say that, President Biden? Because you had been telling us it was the last thing that you were going to do. And why did you say that? Why did Karine Jean-Pierre, remember how she said he will absolutely not pardon his son? It's all over social media right now. They kept saying it. It's everywhere. How many times did the Democrats tell us no one's above the law? No one's above the law. No one's above the law. Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Elizabeth Warren, who makes you feel like your soul is going to hell if you don't agree with her. Inconsistency after inconsistency after inconsistency. We can argue policies. We can argue politics all day long. But the Democrats worked really, really diligently to make the case that the right had a monopoly on insidious, evil tendencies, corrupt tendencies, duplicitous, hypocritical, untruthful tendencies. And every time they made those accusations, we turn around and find out that at least some of them are guilty of the same shit.
Yep.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick of all of it. I'm sick of all of it. They've actually made Donald Trump look like he was right instead of them. Think about that. He didn't just get to raise his fist on election night as a victor He's been raising it every night ever since for one different issue after another that he keeps winning because he keeps highlighting what they lied about. I'm sick of it. Emirates Cup semifinals in the National Basketball Association. And outside of that, I'm just sick of all of this. And I'm sick of a.
Oh boy. He's sick of it. He's sick of it. All right, that's enough Stephen A. Smith there. Good to have you here on the show. And that's Stephen A. Smith going off about the lies of the Democrats. Anybody else sick of it out there? Any Democrats trolling us in the chat rooms out there? Any Democrats watching this thing? Any of the rest of you sick of it? Is anybody else willing to admit that you've been lied to? Anybody else? I mean, I've got this story of Jared Polis continuing to charade as a libertarian. Jared Polis, let me pull up this story here. You get lied to. Some of you are lied to by even your own governor in the state of Colorado. Jared Polis rescinds over 200 executive orders saying he will make government more efficient. Now, Jared Polis has been in office 6 years. And he says some of these executive orders date all the way back to 1920. And here's the statement he says. He says, today I took a table saw and I to outdated and wasteful executive orders, cutting away a bureaucracy to make our government more efficient. Again, I guess Jared Polis wanted to seem like he was Vivek Ramaswamy, and maybe he wanted to seem as if he was Elon Musk. He said this isn't a metaphor. During a press conference on Thursday, Polis stacked up paperwork of 208 executive orders and cut through them with a miter saw. And afterwards, he signed a new executive order that repealed 208 orders that his office said were unnecessary, outdated, wasteful, or obsolete. During executive orders remain in effect even after issuing governor leaves office. And so he says, hey, I found all these 208 executive orders that don't need to be here, and we're going to make government efficient here in Colorado. The problem is Jared Polis is one of those lying Sacagaweas. Jared Polis is one of those lying fools that many people in Colorado continue. They put him in for a second term, and Jared Polis, for no reason at all, other than his own political narcissism and his hope that he will one day be the president of the United States, and he'll run for president just to fulfill his own narcissism and probably to get him out of the house of not have to be there with not have to be in the house for that long with Marlin. Jared Polis decides he's going to rescind all these executive orders, and the key here, my friend, is the key is I've lost my feed here. Here we go. There I am. The key is that Jared Polis rescinds all these executive orders, and yet he could have done it 6 years ago. Is there anybody who believes that Jared Polis really is interested in being a libertarian governor and rescinding all these executive orders to make Colorado efficient again? If so, Jared Polis would have had his fat ass doing this a long time ago. He would have done this a long time ago. John says the message. The only reason he did that is because Doge has become popular. Why didn't he do it in the first term? Listen, any of you idiots out there, and you were an idiot if you voted for Jared Polis. I hate to say it, you're brain dead for not realizing the kind of deceiving man he is. It's kind of like the lies they told you about the insurrection, the lies they told you about Trump all this time. Jared Polis has lied to America. He's lied to Colorado. He's telling everybody that he is a libertarian governor. He's not a libertarian governor. He's a big government liberal that is only in it for Jared Polis. Jared Polis doesn't understand the plight of the average Coloradoan. Jared Polis has a hell of a lot of money, and he bought his way into power. Jared Polis, if he weren't a multimillionaire, wouldn't have been elected class president. He's not a likable guy. He's not an affable guy. He's really a worthless human as far as politically. He's not a guy that can even seemingly relate to the average person out there. If Jared Polis is out there charading as a libertarian because the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Jared Polis can't even think up a clear idea on his own. Jared Polis can't even come up with his own idea of saying, well, I should trim government waste. It took Donald Trump to inspire big fat Jared Polis to actually start making Colorado efficient again. 208 executive orders. He goes out there and showboats like it's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade or a Broadway show tune. Jazz hands. He goes out there and showboats and uses a saw to cut through all these executive orders. But where was Jared Polis on day one doing this? Jared Polis can't even think of a way to effectively run the state of Colorado. Jared Polis has to have the inspiration of Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Donald Trump. Any of you who have been duped by Jared Polis are probably the same ones that probably today should feel lied about and lied to by Kamala Harris. Billions of dollars. Oh, look, Al Sharpton's endorsing her. Oh, look, Orca Winfrey is endorsing her. All these people are endorsing her. Oh, she raised $1 billion and she paid them millions of dollars for services rendered. I really hope that some of you watch this and see this Jared Polis thing and the Kamala Harris thing, the piss offedness, if you will, the disturbing feelings that Stephen A. Smith is expressing that Sean Hannity and all these talk show guys and Megyn Kelly have all been proven right, and Donald Trump looks like he was right. We have been right. We've been right the whole time. I've been right ever since the very moment that the little effer Dr. Fauci walked out there and started lecturing us about the booger cootie virus. I was right. I was called all sorts of nonsense and all sorts of nasty things, but I was right, and you guys were wrong. Dr. Fauci was nicknamed the little effer on this on my radio show of the day because he was a little effer. He was a lying Sacagawea. That's what he was. Stephen A. Smith probably disagreed with me at the time, but now I think we all know that Anthony Fauci is a liar. A lot of you maybe are waking up that Kamala Harris lied to you. Joe Biden lied to you. Barry Hussein Obama has lied to you. And some of you need to wake up that Jared Polis here in the state of Colorado. By the way, some of you listening outside of the state of Colorado, you need to know and you need to understand that you need to know that you've been lied to, and Jared Polis is one of the guys that has lied to you immensely. Kathy says Fauci was not in the White House. That's true. He wasn't in the White House, but he was given power and authority and credence and authority by the president of the United States. And that was a mistake that Donald Trump probably would redo if he could, but it's all worked out since then. But you've been lied to. The bottom line is some of you have been lied to, not just by, and it's all on Jared Polis would have been better to just keep his fat ass quiet and not talk about government efficiency. He's got less than 2 I mean, the run for the governorship to replace him starting soon, and he waits till the end of his term to decide to run government efficiently in Colorado. Come on, Jared. I guess you think we are stupid because the state of Colorado elected you twice. That's probably true. So maybe Colorado is that goofy, but yeah, he would have done better. It's kind of, if he really cared about efficiency in Colorado, he would have done better. All right, I got Megan Barth is coming up. I went a little rant there. Anybody here, speaking of exposing the lies, George Stephanopoulos and ABC News have are having to give Donald Trump $15 million. And they're having to issue an apology. It's going to a trust or some kind of a fund for a future development for Donald Trump as damages. And they have agreed to give $15 million. And most people say, and some people are reporting that they're going to use that $15 million for Donald Trump to build his presidential library. It's all about law comments that George Stephanopoulos, who's a propagandist, he's not a journalist, he's a propagandist, used to work in the Clinton White House. ABC hired him as a propagandist to spread the lies, slap some makeup on his little goofy face, and sit him in front of a microphone and tell him to read the script that he was supposed to read. Well, he made on air, there was a civil case that was brought against Trump by the writer E. Jean Carroll, and the lawsuit was filed on March the 19th in the Southern Florida District, and it accused George Stephanopoulos of making statements with malice and disregard of the truth, basically called Donald Trump a sexual predator. So he called him something crazy, and it cites a March 10th interview with Representative Nancy Mace, in which Stephanopoulos said Trump was found liable for rape and asked her how she could endorse such a candidate. And, of course, he was not found liable for that at all. So, anyway, ABC News and George, what do they call him? George Stephanopoulos. George has had to, they've had to pony up a lot of money $15 million to help build the library. Let's see, what else do we have here? We talked about this Friday, Biden is content on selling the border wall. And also, we've been following the drones out there. The drones, I know producer Chad has a great little graphic there that it could be, blow that up, put the big screen. It could be, we think it's in New Jersey, and the drones, I think Donald Trump posted this on his Truth Social feed. The explanation for the drones could be that it's DoorDash and food delivery for Chris Christie. It could be that. It could be that we're making Chris Christie fat again. Although I don't think he ever ceased to be fat, did he? Yeah. So Chris Christie holding his whopper, if you know what I mean. See, back to the beginning of the show. If you know what I mean, after any sentence, that's what happens. All right, what else do I have? We got a little tangent there. I want to get Megan Barth is coming up here in just a moment. I have not mentioned this in a bit of time, and I want to mention it now. That if you want to support this show and the daily updates, and also keep things happening here at the House of Lakey, the hammer is in my hand, and that means right behind me, there's going to be a big new display behind us soon. The set will be recreated, and so right now it's just solid black to have an air of mystery. If you'd like to be a supporter of this program, we'd love to have you. I'd love to have you. You can do two things to support us. Number one, you can go to the Patreon page and you can subscribe. It's $9.95 a month. There's a 7-day free trial, and 7-day free trial. And like this morning, there was a great interview that just dropped from Dr. Robert Malone. If you missed it, go subscribe. You can hear an excerpt at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Dr. Malone is the guy. He's one of the frontline doctors. He's the guy that invented the mRNA technology, which they used for the vaccine, the COVID Booker Cootie virus vaccine. And he was opposed to it. He said it was not science. It was intended for that. And it's about an hour-long interview, and it's only behind the paywall at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. I may play a small cut of it just to give you, but it's quality, and he talks a lot, and it's good. And this is the same guy that Joe Rogan and him blew up the internet talking about the lies of Fauci. And Dr. Robert Malone, that interview dropped today. Go get a subscription. It's a 7-day free trial, $9.95 a month. Patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Also, if you'd like to support the program, you can do this. All you got to do is send me an email, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. And with our new backdrop, we're going to feature some of our advertisers that are coming on board with us, and we'll be able to promote your business, not just locally, but nationally. And so it doesn't matter if you're in Colorado, where we're based, but you can be in the great state of Texas, and we can reach that audience as well. Got a lot of folks watching in New York City every day, in the New York area. That happens on all the platforms we're on. California as well. All of you can jump into the fray and be a part of the program. Just send me a message at info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. I wonder if when they build the Trump White House, if there's going to be a sign up, this wing of the Donald Trump, so the Trump library. I mean, I wonder if there's going to be a meme or a sign up front. This wing paid for by George Stephanopoulos. This wing paid for by George Stephanopoulos. I wonder if they're going to put that up, because I think it'd be fun. Right about the time where the area where Donald Trump, a whole section of the White House, the presidential library, in which they're talking about fake news and the fake news journalism. I think they use that $15 million from ABC News to build that entire wing of the presidential library, where ABC News sponsors the expose about fake journalism and fake news out there. That's what they should use. They should they should use that. If you missed it earlier, producer Chad, play the commercial again that Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, one of the featured stories, and I asked this ongoing question, is why is it that we have this old age mentality and we keep sending people like this back for second, third, fifth, sixth, 10th terms? It's really kind of ridiculous that these people continue to go back to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was never meant to be a a nursing home. It was not meant to be a retirement center. Producer Chad, do we have the commercial? We think Nancy Pelosi is going to be able to be a spokesperson.
And I can't get up.
Oh, I was talking. Play it again.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
We're hoping Nancy's recovering well there in Luxembourg. She's doing well in Belgium. I hope she recovers nicely. But Nancy, you should retire from the House. Get your old battle axe self there. You've made enough money, and you've got plenty of Botox money. You've done really well. Your husband, Paul Pelosi, has done well in his insider trading. Come on back, San Fran Nan. Get the hell out of Washington, D.C. And I think Life Alert will hire you to be one of their spokespersons. They shall indeed. And also, Mitch McConnell, Life Alert needs another spokesperson. I think that woman that has fallen and can't get up from the, 80s? I think that person has probably passed on. And so, Nancy, they need another person to lay down on the bathroom floor and say they've fallen and can't get it. Maybe somebody should have filmed her. You're coming off the field at the Super Bowl, and you just know they put a camera in your face if you're the MVP, and you say, what do you say? You say, I'm going to Disneyland, right? They say that literally on the field. I hope maybe when San Fran Nan was there on the ground at the hall in Luxembourg, where she fell down the stairs, tripped on her heel or something, high heels. 80-something-year-old woman probably should not be wearing high heels. But she tripped on her heel, fell down the stairs, and I wonder if somebody put a camera right there in their face and say, Nancy Pelosi, you've broken your hip. Where are you going to go next? I've fallen and I can't get up. She could have auditioned for the line right there on the spot, the same way when you walk off the field of the Super Bowl, you jump in here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting the band back together, as you might know. And it's always been a pleasure to, for many years, have Megan Barth on the program. She's the editor-in-chief of the Nevada Globe. She also has a website called ReaganBabe.com, and she's quite the commentator. We've always welcomed her on Megan Monday. And so this Monday, we want to welcome back Megan Barth as the band from the old Lakey show on the radio gets together. Megan Barth, welcome to In. How are you, ma'am?
Well, I'm doing good, Jimmy. Good to be with you. Sorry I can't join you via video, but I'm having some problems on my end here with technical stuff, and that's beyond my pedigree.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I have producer Chad to work out these bugs, because I don't know anything. And I pushed the wrong button and things explode. It's a bad thing. Well, Megan, we're at least glad to hear your voice. Welcome into the House of Lakey, the Lakey Unleashed podcast, daily live update. Nancy Pelosi, I think she'd be a great spokesperson for the Life Alert, help I've fallen and I can't get up. And I hope she maybe takes it as a time to step out from the House, because we got to get these people term limited.
Yeah, and I hear that there is legislation either forthcoming or on the docket with the new Republican majority that term limits will be introduced. But her and her husband have had a hell of a year. Wasn't it just last year her husband got beat over the head with a hammer by his gay lover in San Francisco, or alleged gay lover?
Yeah.
So yeah, they have some mending to do. But it's good for Nancy Pelosi if she can get back home from Luxembourg. What the hell is she doing in Luxembourg? But if she can get back home, she can sit next to her two $25,000 refrigerators and eat her favorite ice cream out of her refrigerators, if you recall that stint that she pulled.
Yeah, she had the hip surgery over there. I'm guessing she's not going to fly coach back home. I'm guessing they'll send a private plane for her to be most comfortable there. Again, living the life of the elite. And yet, what has Nancy Pelosi ever accomplished in the real world? Nothing. She's been a politician. Her husband made a hell of a lot of money. A lot of folks wonder how her stock trading portfolio has done so well. But she's done so well living off the government dole from the people of San Francisco that she can afford to fly private back from Luxembourg. I don't begrudge rich people, but when you get rich off the public dole, we got a problem off that. And I think that's what Nancy's done. Insider trading, anyone?
Well, exactly. And there is, I think it's called Unusual Whales. It's a handle on Twitter or X now that follows her stock trades. And I think she's up like 732% or something year to date. How does that happen? And there's also some legislation, and that should be one of the first legislative pieces as well from the Republican-controlled Congress. Members of the House and members of Congress should be banned from trading stocks. Especially if they sit on these committees. The committees know what's going to happen when it comes to appropriations, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to grants, et cetera. They know all of that, so they know how that's going to affect X companies, whatever company it is, stock price. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is another. she just bangs it out of the park on these trades. And she's up, a few 100% to the year. So that's another piece of legislation along with term limits that need to be introduced and passed in order to restore some semblance of order in DC. Because as you mentioned, when you look at all of these politicians, particularly Joe Biden, for example, who make $170,000 a year as a senator or $170,000 a year as a congressman, and all of a sudden, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, they have tens of millions of dollars in the bank, multiple houses, a house in the Hamptons, a house here, a house there, and it's all off our money.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, the Republicans have done as well. I know Republicans that have been in the House. They went in there as like simple state legislators in Colorado, making $30,000, $40,000 a year, and maybe their lawyers couldn't succeed in private practice, so they didn't make money off that. They went to the state legislature. Then they go to Washington D.C. and you start looking annually their financial reports that are public. And suddenly, this guy that went from the state legislature for making 40 goes to the U.S. House and is making 140, 150, and suddenly they partly that into being worth millions. The average American can't do that in a couple of years.
No, the average American can't do that in a couple of years, especially with the volatile stock market, as we've witnessed. They seem to weather all storms, all economic storms. Their portfolios keep going up and up and up, and our portfolios keep going down. What also keeps going up and up are the regulations, and this is what I'm really excited to see with the DOGE effort that is the Department of Government Efficiency, spearheaded by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, is cutting at least, they said, $2 trillion in waste. It can probably be more like 12. But we'll take anything right now because there's duplicitous spending, there's graft. The Pentagon admits to losing, hundreds of millions of dollars. Tons of fraud. And the DC has just been operating this way for decades. So it's nice to have some outsiders come in that have actually built something with their own two hands, that have signed a P&L, that understand how to run a successful corporation, come in and apply that same knowledge and expertise, to our federal government.
I want to talk about the part of Hunter Biden with you in a second. Megan Barthow with me, the editor-in-chief of the Nevada Globe, have technical difficulties, so we have her audio only this morning. But Megan, I don't know if you saw this because you're in Nevada, but our governor, Jared Polis, who's a narcissistic millionaire, never would have been elected even class clown if it had not been for being a rich guy, because he's not a likable guy, not affable, not good looking, not a well-spoken fellow. He came out over the weekend and late last week and got a table saw, miter saw, and he sawed up a big stack of papers and said he was rescinding 208 executive orders that have been on the books since like 1920 in Colorado, because he wanted to make Colorado's government more efficient. And if this isn't Jared Polis playing catch up, showing that he's never had an original idea in his life because he's not that bright, he's playing catch up out there because I guess he realizes that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are doing good and maybe we should make government more efficient. This is the guy that's on the final 2 years of his term, and he finally gets around to cutting up 208 executive orders that he said were wasteful. If he were really that concerned about wasteful spending in Colorado, I think an old dumb Jared would have handled this many years ago and not wait until he's really a lame duck governor, but showboating, trying to keep up with the Trumpster.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing this, right? It's the Trump effect, and it's starting to ripple down. He went from being a Nazi to all of a sudden being copycatted, if you will, in his incoming administration. And so good for Jared Polis, better late than never, I guess. But Nevada, I think, competes at a much stronger way in being a regulatory administrative state. I'll be publishing actually that this morning after we get off the phone. A new report. We have over 200 agencies or commissions in Nevada. Over 200. We are only a population of less than 3 million people. Why do we need over 200 agencies and commissions getting into our business, applying regulations, really hurting? And the study was pretty extensive on Nevada, and they did it in other states as well. But the study was pretty extensive, showing that these types of the regulatory state, these types of regulations, that the number one people they hurt are small businesses. The number two people they hurt are low-income families, because all of those regulations increase costs to the consumers. And who's the consumer that's going to be hit hardest by taxes and regulatory costs? the very people that are struggling to get by, especially in this inflationary economy.
Yeah. Megan Barth, again, the editor-in-chief of the NevadaGlobe.com, the NevadaGlobe.com. Always some great investigative and breaking news happening there. The investigative reporting of Megan Barth, the NevadaGlobe.com. She's the editor-in-chief. Megan, I want to dive into this topic of Hunter Biden gets pardoned after all the lies. And I wasn't surprised he pardoned him. I was just surprised how adamantly they kept up the fakery that he wasn't going to pardon him. But then last week, Joe Biden decided he was going to pardon or give clemency, if you will, which is slightly different than a pardon, but to about 1,600 people. And I'm guessing there's more coming. I know you've been doing some research as to who were these people that got this blanket clemency from old demented Joe Biden last week.
Yeah, one thing that I've been noticing, and it's been pretty much on Twitter, with people digging through and looking at all of the various pardons and the clemency, and that is mainly the people that he is excusing, or a large number of the people that he's granting clemency to, are the people that have ripped off the taxpayers, are the people that have used their position within local governments specifically. One comes to mind out of Dixon, Illinois. Now, if you're not familiar with Dixon, Illinois, no problem, but that's where Ronald Reagan was born. Very small farming town, very rural. Um, a woman had absconded with over tens of millions of dollars, basically bankrupted the town. She was sentenced, I think, to like 20 years. And she's only served like, I don't know, 5, 8 years of that sentence. And he granted her clemency. There's another very similar case down in a southern state, very similar case, where he's granted clemency to another lady who ripped off the town. The city of people, or excuse me, the people of Dixon, the city of Dixon, the people are outraged. There have been public comments that, we basically are just clawing our way back to some sort of financial stability. Many of the folks in Dixon are saying, the newly elected officials, et cetera. And here she is able to walk scot-free. Why is that? When you look at the types, another guy convicted of sex trafficking, another guy, Chinese spy. I mean, when you start to connect the dots, it sounds like you're talking about the Biden family at large.
Maybe he met all these people at his family reunion or something.
Yeah, exactly. So as goes Joe Biden's grants and pardons and grants of clemency, is Hunter Biden fits right in with the profile of the types of people that he's pardoning. And the Biden, excuse me, I don't understand the preemptive pardon. How can you pardon somebody if they haven't been found guilty of that crime? Hunter had a case coming up that had not yet been held. He had his sentencing coming up, but he was also in trouble. That's basically an admittance of guilt, that you're giving preemptive pardons to people who have yet to be convicted of a crime.
Well, Hunter pled guilty, and yet they knew there were going to be more crimes out there. There's a magical date. To go back to 2014, that was when Hunter took the job with Burisma. And so, therefore, hey, we're going to clear him of all things, even traffic tickets or swindling Burisma and all that. Back to 2014. Why not 2013? Why not 2015? Why 2014? Well, that was the date that he started to work with Burisma. And again, he had already pled guilty, but there's probably going to be some more investigations. I find it interesting that they're wanting to do preemptive pardons on Liz Cheney. They talk about preemptive pardons on Anthony Fauci. Well, what crime do you think they're going to be charged with? That's what I keep. What are you going to give a preemptive pardon? What crime do you think they committed? Are you admitting that they committed crimes?
Well, exactly. You've basically admitted that they've committed crimes by giving them a preemptive pardon, which tells me if you are thinking about pardoning Liz Cheney, then you are very well aware what was going on within that J6 committee, which Trump reminded everyone when he sat down with I think it was ABC this last week, that Liz Cheney and the J6 commission destroyed hundreds of documents and did not provide much of the testimony to the public, did not provide much of the evidence to the public. Instead, what they did was completely shred the evidence, destroy the evidence that the public had every right to see, especially when we were gaslit and lied to and manipulated by the mainstream media, as well as Nancy Pelosi and others, the J6 committee, telling us this was an insurrection. Well, if it was an insurrection, why didn't Jack Smith charge the president with an insurrection? That's because it wasn't an insurrection. It was a Fedsurrection. We just learned a couple days ago, and by Fedsurrection, I mean Fed agents. We just learned a couple days ago that I think it was over 20 to 30 federal agents that were working with the FBI were placed in and around the Capitol. Did they breach the Capitol? Did they incite the chaos at the Capitol that day? Well, we won't know that because much of that evidence has likely been destroyed.
And, Christopher Wray lied about that. He asked if was the FBI involved there on January the 6th. Oh, no. And he's dancing on the head of a needle. The reason the independent inspector general for the Justice Department said that the excuse he used, Christopher Wray said we had no undercover FBI agents. No, we had paid informants there. Basically, he didn't have any W-2 employees, but he had a bunch of 1099 employees. I'm wondering if Christopher Wray could be indicted for lying in Congress because he said the FBI had no involvement. Again, go back and parse his words. I think they're going to make the claim that they had informants, but not agents that were there. And I wonder if Christopher Wray could be subject to some kind of an indictment for lying to Congress.
Well, and I think that's why they're so fearful. And I mean, by the deep state, like Christopher Wray, they're so fearful of a Kash Patel appointment. That Kash Patel will now become the director of the FBI. And in Government Gangsters, which is Kash Patel's book, and I've interviewed Kash on a few different occasions. He's a Nevada resident, actually. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows the gangsters in government. He worked along with Devin Nunes to, blow open the scam known as, Russian collusion. They uncovered the setup of Donald Trump and others. And so I think Christopher Wray should be very worried about lying to Congress, but it would be very curious to see that if there's any accountability, because there have been plenty of people like Fauci and others, Eric Holder, another good example. Eric Holder, first attorney general to be found in contempt of Congress, but nothing ever happened, right? They can be accused, you can show the evidence. You basically have anyone 16 ways to Sunday of lying to Congress and colluding, etc. And yet nothing happens. So hopefully with this incoming administration, with new leadership that is hell-bent on draining the swamp, that understands where the bodies are buried, that understands who the bad actors are, there will finally be some accountability. And I think I told you it was either last night or maybe it wasn't you, but I think one of the best things that the incoming Trump administration can do is release the Epstein files. Why? Because that will show you exactly who in the government is compromised and who in the government abused their power and who in the government and perhaps even outside of the government but has influence on the government not only abused their power, lied to the American people, but also was involved in human sex trafficking of underage girls.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah, I hope they do this. I know there are a lot of things said on the campaign trail by politicians, and they talked about the JFK files, the Epstein files. I hope just day one, just walk in before you can get some bad advice or some bureaucrat step in. Just start releasing everything. Just on day one, right. Lock up that border and start releasing stuff and rock and roll. Real quick, Megan, I did this show live from Texas on Monday, and it was a big story on Friday. And it was a big story there. It's become a big story nationally that Joe Biden, I guess, is an act of spite. I know you followed the southern border, has taken parts that were not used to build a southern wall, and he's put them on trucks, shipped them to Arizona, and they're selling them. Texas says they've been trying to buy these parts to help build a wall. But Joe Biden, an act of spite in his demented state, is selling the border wall that the taxpayers paid for. He's selling it for pennies on a dollar. Your thoughts?
Well, so much for the peaceful transition of power. Remember, immediately after Trump won the election, and a mandate, by the way, and I don't care what the Democrats say, it was a mandate. Um, they came out. It was Jean Pierre and Biden and Harris and everybody. Well, yes, it will definitely be a peaceful transition of power. They're doing everything they can to undermine this incoming administration, whether it's at the border, whether it's in foreign policy. I mean, we look at uh, Syria. We look at
Yeah.
Israel and yeah, everything. There are multiple fronts. I think we're at what, 3 wars, 4 wars. Every Monday it seems like I wake up and we're involved in some sort of new crisis.
Let's have another one.
Yeah, let's have another one. Why not? Let's go for 6 wars. Why not? And so this is what the Biden administration has done. Yes, they might hand him the keys to the White House. That's peaceful. But up until that time, we have to really remain vigilant. And there's not a lot the president can do up until the time that he's inaugurated in January 20th. So I think we've got, about 30 days, just about
Yeah.
34 days. Not a whole lot the president can do, but meaning the incoming president, but there's a whole hell of a lot that Joe Biden can do to create enough instability in our own country and abroad to make President Trump's first year the most difficult, because with all of these wars and multiple fronts, it hopefully, and President Trump is good as far as being a multitasker, if you will. But all of this, for example, what the hell are the drones doing in New Jersey? What's all that about? And then you have Mayorkas coming out. You have this, the DHS coming out, others coming out, defense. Yeah, well, we really don't know, but they're fine. Well, how do you know they're fine if you don't know? Like,
Megan, can you see the screen right now? I don't know if you can see the screen.
I can if I take my phone off sleep, I think.
That's what the drones are doing in New Jersey.
Oh, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. Oh, hold on. I know. I see it now. President Trump tweeted that out the other day about
that's what the drones are doing in New Jersey. What are these drones? It's DoorDash for a big fat Chris Christie. That's it.
Yeah, this whole drone debacle off our own shores reminds me of the Chinese spy balloon that the Biden administration just let float across the entire Midwest over into the Atlantic, and everyone's watching the spy balloon, going, what are they picking up? Well, shoot it down. I mean, at least can we capture one of these drones? To me, it screams of some sort of Pentagon operation. I think if they were foreign, well, I would hope that we would take some sort of defensive position if they were.
And I'd hope we would know if they were foreign too.
Exactly. What is going on? The American people deserve to know, especially those poor people in New Jersey. I mean, they feel as though that they're under attack. And so, again, this lends to this quote unquote peaceful transition of power. It's not going to be a peaceful transition of power because it's already starting out to be an absolute disaster.
Yeah. Megan, I got one more question for you. Remember Hillary Rodham Kenkel's Clinton? They stole the china from the White House when they left there. What do you think Joe and Dr. Jill are going to steal? I mean, the cocaine? I mean, what are they going to steal from the White House? If Hillary took the china, and anybody out there on the platforms, Rumble, Twitter, X, Facebook, give me a comment. I'd love to close up the show here pretty soon. But I'd love to know if Hillary Rodham Kenkel's Clinton steals the china from the White House, what are the Bidens going to take? Any guess? From you, Megan Barth?
Well, that's a great question. Maybe. Well, Biden doesn't know where he's at, so I don't think he's capable of really stealing anything. Jill Biden, I think, just wants to get the hell out of there and as far away from the vice president and the first gentleman, or whatever his name is, Doug. There is no love lost. There is absolutely no love lost between Kamala Harris and Jill Biden. You could cut the tension with a knife when you've seen them lately. They're staring off in other directions. There's like a block of ice. So they're definitely not going to steal some time with the Harris and Doug Emhoff, or whatever his name is. So, they don't really need anything, do they? They can retire to one of their 3 mansions on a $170,000 salary somehow that they've managed to manipulate over 50 years on the government dole.
Yeah.
Just absolutely amazing.
I wonder if they're going to steal any of Hunter's art out of the White House. And Ray just posted up on the he's watching on YouTube this morning. Ray said they're just going to snag all the ice cream stash for Joe. That's where they'll steal the ice cream from the White House.
Oh, right. Yes, exactly.
It's a great question, Megan. It's great to reconnect, and I hope we can do this. I like Megan Monday. I got kicked off the radio, and I'd let everybody know that I was gone, and here we are 3 or 4 weeks later, and back together. Megan Monday. It has a nice ring to it, Megan.
It does. I do like it. I would love to. And I got to tell you that, my dad was very bummed. And my dad doesn't even live in Colorado, but my dad was very bummed when you went off the air. He listened to you all the time. And he'll be very excited to know that you're back live and shaking things up as you're known to do. So,
and it's unleashed too. I'm unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and
you need some heavy intro music, like Metallica or something.
Yeah,
like that.
we got to pay royalties on that, and we don't want to do that. Yeah,
okay.
We're cheap. We're cheap like that. That severance check wasn't that big.
Exactly.
But that reminds me, everybody, go. The severance check wasn't that big. Go to patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey and subscribe. It's a 7-day free subscription trial run. And there's some, Megan, a lot of talk show hosts and people in the radio business and media business. Patreon, I've decided, is like the only fans for talk show hosts.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's hope that desperate times doesn't call for desperate measures. Hey, I'm thinking about. The number one state in the country for feet, for a foot obsession. I don't get it. Is Nevada, and these people on OnlyFans are making hundreds of thousands of dollars on pictures of their feet. I'm like, I can do that.
I'm thinking about it. It's $9.95 a month. It's $9.95 a month for exclusive interviews. Like I have an hour-long interview that went up today with Dr. Robert Malone about a lot of stuff behind the paywall. But I'm thinking about that's $9.95 a month, 7-day free trial. I'm thinking for $20.95 a month or $19.95 a month, up at $10. I may show my feet every day, a little higher tier, and for $30, I'll take my shirt off, and
just find out what the fetish is in Colorado, and it'll be a gold mine.
You get up to $50. I may be butt naked here in a second if you're paying $50 a month.
Talk about unleashed.
Put that thing back in its cage. That's all right, Megan Barth. That would leave it. That would be called the.
We'll leave it there.
That would be called the walk the dog tier. Sorry, everybody subscribe. That's $99 a month for the walk the dog tier.
See you next Monday and all your glory.
Yes, it is. Megan Barth, it's a pleasure. We'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you very much. Woo! Oh, man, having fun in the house. Lakey Unleashed, my friends. That's what we are. Lakey is unleashed. And, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Yeah, we went there. Everybody good? How long have we gone? Have we hit an hour? We have no confines. There ain't nobody going to kick me off the air. I ain't got no syndicated programming that's some national talking head to kick me off the air. Although I don't know if we can top that last few moments of radio. There's a lot of broadcast. There's a lot of things I did not get to. I have them on my show sheet here, and I didn't get to, but we'll pick them up tomorrow. Tune in. We got some great guests on the program. And also there's a great interview that happened over the weekend with Devin Nunez and Maria Bartiromo. And I have that audio. We're going to get to it tomorrow. I did not get to it today. But a couple of things to consider. Keep some comments coming. If Kankles Clinton, Hillary Rodham Kankles Clinton took the China out of the White House, what do you think that what do you think the Bidens are going to steal? I think Ray's comment is right on. It's going to be the ice cream stash. Anything else we're going to steal from the White House? We shall see. Nancy Pelosi has fallen and she can't get up. She's having surgery. We'll continue to follow her update there as well. Talk about Doge tomorrow. George Stephanopoulos, ABC News, giving $15 million to the Trump Presidential Library because of their slanderous comments against him. And also tomorrow, don't forget, we're getting the band back together here on the Lakey Unleashed podcast. Tomorrow will be Carno Tuesday. Laura Carno will join us tomorrow morning on the program. Hey, help us spread the word about the show. I've got a lot of people messaging me saying, Lakey, I don't know anything. It's funny. They comment on Facebook. I don't know anything about podcasts. How do I access the show? How do we access the show? And I'm like, you're on Facebook. It's on the feed. So help spread the word and educate the uneducated when it comes to accessing the show. If you can, this podcast that you just watched for live, and we've been going about 90 minutes now, it will populate live throughout the rest of the day. You'll see, you can watch it again, and share it, like it, tweet it out there, and we'd love to have you share to the world that we're out there. If you're on YouTube, thanks for watching, and a raise on YouTube. All of our new Rumble fans out there, glad to be on Rumble. Just look up my name, Jimmy Lakey, and that little logo that you see at the top of your screen. That should be there on all. That's how you know it's the authentic page. Rumble, YouTube. We're on YouTube. We're on the X, Twitter feed, Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, Facebook.com/Red Wave America, Facebook.com/Media Equalizer. And again, want to remind you a couple of ways you can support the show. And then we're going to wrap it up here, but I want to tell you, if you want to sponsor the show, send us an email to info@jimmylakey.com. We got packages of advertising coming together. The background is coming together, the new studio being built, and you'll see something besides black behind me real soon. And by the way, we have not locked this down. If you'd like to be the studio sponsor, send us an email today. If you want to be your studio sponsor, we've got the packages coming together, and you'll be a category exclusive, the studio sponsor back there. Your logo could be on the screen behind us. So just let you know, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. info@jimmylakey.com. And the rest of you that don't have a business to advertise or don't want to support at that level, you can be an individual, not just a business, but at least go to patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, and support us there. $9.95 a month, and I'd appreciate it. But if you want to be studio sponsor, we'd love to have you back on the wall behind me when we finish building out the set here. So help us out. Info@jimmylakey.com if you have questions. All right. A couple more comments coming in on Facebook. Arloa, I know she's one of our Patreon subscribers, I believe. She says, please don't subject us to heavy intro music. I just love Jimmy in the morning music. I don't listen to the Clay and Buck show, but I sometimes used to hear the beginning of their main intro, and I really detest that stuff. Just saying. Arloa, don't worry, the Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir. Matter of fact, somebody posted up to me last night a private message. I think it's on one of the threads out there. It wasn't it was a comment, and they said, hey, on the new ventures, you still have the choir? That was the best part of the show. And yes, I own the choir. The choir is that's my melody, my tunes. And for instance, I did some smart things in radio. First of all, even though we were underpaid, I own the choir. The choir tunes are they're sole property of mine, so you get to continue to hear the choir every morning about 8 o'clock Mountain Time. I also own the bobbleheads, and if you'd like a bobblehead, don't forget, they are available, and I autograph it right there for you. And if you'd like those are. We'll put those in the store one day once we get our House of Lakey, but right now they're only available for a donation to our charity, Rivers Promise Building Legacy Christian Academy. And yes, that is a bobblehead. And you just go to the riverspromise.org page and you can click products. And when you click products, you'll see the bobbleheads available for a donation. We'll ship that out in time for Christmas, and it will be an autographed bobblehead if you prefer it to be autographed. If you don't want my signature, I don't blame you. But anyway, if you'd like the bobblehead, that's available, riverspromise.org. All right. End of year giving, we'll start talking about that tomorrow. If you'd like to give to charity, if you'd like some money you need to dump for a tax deduction, or because you love kids, please do that. I'd love to have you contribute to the cause. And riverspromise.org is a 501c3 organization. My charity, building a Christian school in Rwanda. And if you don't know the story, go to the website and you can hear the story about why I started that charity. It has been a slice of heaven. We've gone long form today. And thank you for sticking it out. It's amazing. The crowd continues to grow throughout the course of the morning. It gets bigger and bigger as we go along. I love your comments on all the platforms. Rumble, good morning. YouTube, good morning. Facebook, good morning. You're staying strong there. Twitter, good morning as well. Everybody when this post, please share it, please like it, please distribute it. Let's grow the Unleashed Army if you can. Unleashed from the confines of corporate America radio. It's Lakey in the studio, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Go subscribe. In the meantime, I'll be back for this free daily update. I'll be back Tuesday morning, good Lord willing, and the microphone works. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.